All right, we are live. All right, everybody, this is Stephen's story. We're here with Lejeune Harris. We have worked together. We have been in the business a long time. She's been in the business a little bit longer than I have. But I wanted to bring her in today, ask her a few questions about the business to give y'all some insight into how you can make independent adjusting a career and have longevity in it. Welcome, Lejeune. How are you doing today?
Well, thank you, Stephen. I'm doing well, and thank you for having me.
All right. So if you would give everybody just a little bit more about you, where you're from and kind of how you got into the business of independent adjusting.
I was born and raised in Arkansas and moved to Dallas and got into the business of adjusting through school first. Got my first license in '99. It was not a big business for women back then. The game has changed since then, so it's been a different story after that point. So I kind of got started earlier, got out, and then got back in. Came back
Mhm.
in along the lines of Hurricane Katrina, and
Mhm.
then kind of started to build a career from there.
So I was an adjuster in when Hurricane Katrina happened. I was still in high school. I've heard stories
Stop
about
telling my age.
how was the money for Katrina.
The money was great. The money was great for Katrina because back at that time the regulations were totally different than they are now, and because it was such a big storm and it caught people off guard and there was so much displacement, there was room for money to be made everywhere, in all areas of adjusting, and there are a lot of eras of adjustment. So
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, we don't have to go too far into Katrina. I know a few people who worked Hurricane Katrina, and it was insane. We had Hurricane Harvey not too long ago, but it didn't do financially what Katrina did for adjusters.
no, no, not at all. I think that Katrina built that kind of wall when it went into its stage. It sent people running from everywhere because there weren't a whole lot of adjusters that were in it like that. The companies were using their staff to kind of fight these, but the storm was so big that it required a lot more than
Mhm.
just what they had. So they were outsourcing like nobody's business. So yeah, the pay was phenomenal
Mhm.
back then for those time frames. But the game's changed now.
And it's not gonna, even if another Hurricane Katrina happened, insurance policy changed,
Correct, correct.
right?
Yeah. The policies, unfortunately, are changing due to what I think are a lot of errors that were made by the insurance company. And
Mhm.
when I say that, I mean in regards to what they would pay for and how they would pay for it. Where just you blow a few shingles off and they go ahead and pay for the whole roof if the insured would yell enough. It became a big thing where you were replacing full roofs that really didn't need to be replaced every year. It got to be so big. I think that the fraud industry and the public adjuster industry kind of put a different spin on that. So a lot of insurance companies now are changing the policy or they're pulling out altogether.
That's what's happening in Florida right now.
Correct. Because Florida was one of the biggest states that has public adjusters. And unfortunately, I hate to say it, a lot of fraud that
Hmm.
happened in that particular area. It
Hmm.
just is what it is. Because Florida has so many storms, it left a lot of room for a lot of those things to happen. And we just didn't follow up on it well enough, I don't think.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. For those of y'all who, me and Lejeune, we have another level of experience. So we're talking about things that some of y'all, even new adjusters, y'all never heard of. But if we go back to 2016, a whole bunch of companies went bankrupt.
Yes.
And it
Yes.
happened again last year.
Yes. I think that 2016 was the year that they kind of started to do that, when they started to go bankrupt in those areas. But I think these past few years is where it's really turned up. It's now what you see, or what we used to call the big five, are now seeing, the hit that's happening, and they're pulling out of the state of Florida. They're pulling out of the state of Florida and other areas in that coastline,
Mhm.
because of so much that has happened with public adjusters and the fraud industry. And so it's making it kind of hard in those areas now.
I agree. I agree. And I think for those of y'all who are new to the business, there was a law that came out in 2023, a new law by the state of Florida, where they went in and changed the deadlines on when we can handle claims, or how slow we can handle claims. They sped the claim process up, and they made it a little more lenient on these insurance carriers, because right now in Florida, there's like, I think maybe one or two major carriers, and that's it, just Citizens right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, the big boys are pulling out of there. I definitely know State Farm has pulled out.
Mhm.
Allstate is starting to pull out as well. Just most of the big guys that you normally would hear about have started to pull out of the state of Florida.
And it's because they can't afford to have the policies that they have in place in other states in Florida. And
Correct.
because of that, and also Florida has, in most states in general, because you have constituents that are complaining to their politicians, but the politicians don't understand how insurance works. And
Correct.
so the politician hears the insurance company is screwing us over, do something about it. So they make all these laws that are against insurance companies, but
Right.
the insurance company can't afford to operate in your state.
Well,
Unfortunately.
yeah. Unfortunately, people are going to start paying for that soon. And I myself personally have just had that experience. My insurance has gone up itself this year. I couldn't believe it had gone up as much as it had.
Mhm.
Um, but Louisiana, Florida, and North Carolina, South Carolina, those guys get hit a lot. I'm almost surprised that Louisiana is still standing, that it's been hit so much in the
Mhm.
last few years with hurricanes and floods, which has caused you to rebuild again and again and again and again in the
Mhm.
same area, same spot. And it just doesn't make sense for insurance companies to keep rebuilding in that same spot. So you have to be careful, and pay attention to those areas. But that's some of the things that are happening in those areas that are causing those problems.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And I think for us as adjusters, we're going to keep handling claims. Many times we got to handle the
Right,
claim, because that's what
right.
we get to do. But as homeowners and citizens, I don't know what we're going to do when, either the insurance company going to go, either they're going to make new companies with higher premiums or less coverage to get
Yes.
the premium at the dollar amount that people can afford.
And right now it seems to be, at this point, it seems to be higher premiums,
Yeah.
um, for less service as well.
Hmm.
The policies have been altered so much at this point that you really have to look at your policy now. This is a time to figure out your policy. And that's
Hmm.
one of the differences you and I recognize, Stephen. When we worked in Canada, those people knew their policies
They did.
back and forth. You had
They
to be
did.
on top of it in Canada. Here in the United States, they relied on us to tell them what their policy required. So
Mhm.
now people are going to have to start looking at their own policies and making sure that that works for them.
I mean, but they got people spend $2,000-3,000 a year on premium. That's a
Oh, yeah.
bill. That's a
Oh,
big
yeah.
bill. You need to be reading that. You need to know what's going on, because um, you'll get caught with your pants down
Absolutely.
when these hurricanes come, or a tornado or whatever, and you find out you never had that kind of coverage.
Well, that is exactly what's happening. People did not understand and don't understand some of their policies sometimes. So what they chalk it up to is that the insurance company is trying to cheat them out of something that they have, and it's not that. It's all in your policy. That's something that we say to insureds over and over and over again when we're talking to them. It's in your policy. All you have to do is check the policy. I can only do what your policy says,
Mm-hmm.
and they still don't understand it. It's a process that is it's almost kind of scary sometimes to go through, because you have to explain, and we understand how they feel, because just like them, we're homeowners, we're car owners.
Right.
This happens to us just like it happens to you. We fight the same battles that you fight. The
Mm-hmm.
difference is that most of us now select our policies by what we know. Because
Uh-huh.
when you stick a policy in my face now, I know what I'm looking for. There's no such thing anymore as a full policy. You have to add your pieces to that policy to make it work for you. And that's
Mm-hmm.
what people are not understanding sometimes at this point.
I completely agree with you, and that's probably 50% of our conversation is
Yes.
explaining what these people are paying for. And
Mhm.
it's unfortunate because the insurance agent should be doing that,
Well, we
telling them the policy. But if they did that,
yeah.
life would be a lot easier for us as
Yeah,
adjusters.
well, we know how the calls go sometimes with the
Mm-hmm.
agents as well. So
Mm-hmm. The agent don't know.
exactly, he doesn't know his own policy. We're required to handle sometimes 32 licenses at a time for
Mhm.
the states that we are in, and we have to know the policies for those states, but not
Yeah.
the agent. The agent
Nope.
is supposed to be able to handle at least the policy in his state, but they don't know the policy. They
No.
just sell the policy.
Yes. It's so unfortunate because then you had to have a conversation with the agent to explain to them what they're selling, which is
Absolutely.
which is which is crazy.
Absolutely.
Let's get into some questions.
Okay.
What is, in layman's terms, could you explain the role of an independent insurance adjuster and how it differs from other roles in the insurance industry?
Our job as an independent adjuster is to come in and help the staff with the overload that they have during catastrophic and heavy times. The difference between us and them is that there are several areas that we're in. One is much longer hours. We are their backup. We're their slack, in regards to getting things done for them that just normally they cannot do within an 8-hour workday. We then take up that slack, and we also have particular times and frames to kind of get these things done. So one agent would, sorry, one staff member may be able to handle 50 claims. Well, we have to come in and make sure that there's 200 others, that we have to get taken care of for them. So
Mhm.
our job is to back them up in any area that we can. The other thing that we do that they do not do is we're crossover. So what that means is there's commercial policies, there's PIP policies, there's BI policies, there's homeowners, and there are different types of homeowners, and there are cars. At any given moment, we may be swung over from home into cars. And now we have to do the car policies, and we have to know those policies. We may get swung from there over to commercial. So a regular adjuster, a staff adjuster, would normally stick with whatever it is that they're handling. We do not. We go where they need us.
As you were explaining everything, I'm going through all the times I've had to get switched from property to large loss, back
Yes.
to the litigation, back to
Contents,
property, second
mitigation.
as well. And you're on the
Yeah.
same contract.
And we never really know exactly what we're doing when we get there. We can walk into a company and tell us we're going to handle claims. That's usually the word now. They don't say what kind of claims. They say you're going to handle claims. When you get there to your destination, that is when they explain to you what you are doing. And that could be commercial, that could be large loss, that could be content, it could be mitigation, it could be cars, it could be any of those. And
Hmm.
And then I say we do what is called dance class. They give us the steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And you better be able to dance.
You better remember these
You
steps.
better be able to dance. And you better be
Mm-hmm.
ready for it, because it's thrown
Mm-hmm.
at you fast. Because we don't have time we don't have the time to do the full training like a staff agent would do.
Mm-hmm.
We have to jump in and learn quick. And if you can't do that dance, you have a problem.
Yeah, you got a going home problem. You got where the next paycheck coming from problem. And I think that that's something that for adjusters, I talk about it with my students is the ability to learn, unlearn, and relearn.
Correct.
If you can do that
Correct.
properly and at scale, you're going to have a long career in this business. Um,
Correct.
we have to learn how we learn what one carrier wants in their claim environment with their guidelines and policy, unlearn it, and relearn it for the next carrier.
My motto is we are adjusters. We adjust.
We adjust.
We adjust to whatever is necessary for us to do when we get there. Allstate doesn't do it like State Farm does it. State Farm doesn't do it like USSA does it. So on and so forth. They have different ways of doing things. You can't go in saying to another company, "Oh, we didn't do it like that when I did my last job." Hey, forget that. This is dance class. It's a new dance now. It's a new dance. Let's get it.
Mm-hmm. And we've heard this as staff in our team meetings all the time.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
it wasn't like that. Well, it used to be like this. Well,
Not today.
we paying you to be like this.
Adjust.
Adjust. Adjust. You bring up some great points. In your experience, how has technology impacted the field of insurance adjusting over the years?
Woo.
And what emerging trends do you see shaping the industry's future?
That's a good one because, again, you have to remember when I came in. And when I came in, the sketch was a sketch by hand. These guys were out in the field drawing these houses and drawing the windows. And oh my God, some of them you're like, I'm not an artist. I can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
You get there and then walks in the door with Xactimate. And Xactimate can do the sketch for you. Well, that's what they say. It can do it for you. You still have to know pieces and parts and how to get it to that point. So
Mm-hmm.
It's not as easy sometimes as it sounds, especially when you're putting something back together. We now have walked into the age of SimBility. And
Mm-hmm.
SimBility is a different animal from Xactimate.
Mm-hmm.
So you're constantly learning, and they're constantly bringing in different technologies. One of the things that I can also say is that when I did automobiles, one of the things we used to have to do, you have to order the license. It has to come back in the mail. You got to wait for the title. You got to wait for this, that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a lot of that is on the system that the companies have built for themselves will automatically order some of those things for you. And they can come back online. Some of them can come back online.
Mm-hmm.
It just depends on what it is and, what you need and what's required at that point. But the industry is getting a little bit easier each year in regards to that, if you keep up with it, because it's really kind of weird because I have gone out of doing SimBility. The last company I worked for SimBility for 3 years. And then you come back out and you got to go back to Xactimate. It's like, oh, wait a minute. It doesn't look anything like it did 3 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
when I stayed in there. So you have to keep training yourself. That's one of the things that a lot of people don't do in this area. They don't continue to train themselves along the way. And in order to stay in this and stay visible to yourself, you have to.
I agree. I think the way I look at insurance adjusting is we are all running a small business, and our
Absolutely.
client at the end of the day is an insurance carrier, and we have to continue to reinvest in our business. And so what I did, and I feel like me and you both do this through the years, every year and a half, you need to be buying a course, buying a coaching, sitting down and spending $1,000 and learning something.
Yeah,
Uh, that's
exactly.
the only way you're going to stay abreast. Just handling claims ain't enough.
No, it's not. It's not. And now with the new thing that they're doing is which where they want you to write from home. They're gonna send
Mhm.
you pictures and they want you to write it. You know, you do the best that you can, but it's not like being out there and physically seeing some of these things. So you really have to stay on top of what you're on top of to know what things might be missing in that drawing that you're having to draw now.
I agree. And I think this is something that, and you can, no, I know me, we had the same experience on this one. I have seen a level of skill drop off
Yes.
from people who only have been able to work remote and they
Yes.
weren't able to work outside or work in a desk in a call center environment essentially. Um, and I'm seeing people that got 2 or 3 years experience, but it's the last 2 or 3 years all remote from home, and
Yeah.
they're at, in my opinion, some of them are at the 6 months to a year level of experience that I see in the desk.
Very much so. That is happening quite a bit lately, which has created another new niche, which is the job that I just finished doing at this point. And that niche is now you've got field adjusters who are writing from their desk everything that comes through, and it's missing tons of things when that estimate comes over. So now I've got to go back in there, read those pictures and things again, and add additional information. I also have to, if the contractor has gone out there and the contractor comes back in and says, "Hey, uh, you're missing this, and this," I've got to go in now and make sure that is required in those areas with those things. That's a whole nother niche. So we're doing a lot of cleanup now in those areas that we didn't have to do before. The I think that people kind of think that this is an easy get rich kind of thing, and it's not. It is not. We make good money, but let me tell you, we work for that money. We
Right.
really work for that money, you know.
Mm-hmm. I
So
agree.
I think if you think you're just gonna come in and kind of do the least, and you get big bucks, it's not. That's not. This is not the spot for you.
No, that's gonna work about 2 weeks. They're gonna put you on the spot on the claim. They're gonna say, "Get it done now. I want to
Yeah.
see it." It's gonna be something like that. No, what
Yes.
manager gonna be around, but you got to get it done. And they
Yes.
check you the next day. They're gonna spot check you, and you're done. You're out of there.
Absolutely.
You
Absolutely.
know, we see it
Yeah.
happen all the time. I think for those of y'all who want to be adjusters or who are starting out in the business, um, Lejeune and I are serious adjusters, and we take it serious. We're
Very
constantly
much.
preparing every day.
Yeah.
We work physically next to each other, so I know how Lejeune works, and it comes down to prepping every single day. You got to be on point every day. You can't be out late at night drinking all night, partying, stuff like
Oh no, we've seen many of that. We've seen that happen quite a bit. Canada was a prime example of some of that.
that. Canada is a
You
prime
you
example.
you get to go to another country, and here's the thing that people don't understand. Oh my God, you get to go to all these places. You go to Canada and Puerto Rico and all that. We don't see much of that when a storm starts. When a storm starts, we're 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. There are days that by a month in, sometimes we don't even know our name because we worked so long. Or you sit on the side of the bed in your boots and you open your eyes and it's 2 o'clock in the morning. You didn't even get into bed, at that point. So,
Mhm.
so when we get to these places, we're in Canada, was one of the most beautiful places that we've been in, and we wanted to see it. But we wait till the assignment is over before we go out and see those places
Mhm.
because you can't do it during that time frame. You get there and start the party, the locals are going to work from 8 to 5. We're going from 7 in the morning to 7 in the evening sometimes longer. So it's a different process for us than it is for them. And if you're a serious adjuster, you'll know exactly what I mean when I say that. You have to be cognizant of what you're doing and who you're doing it with along the way.
I completely agree because Lejeune, what we talking about now, it's a whole nother interview. There's a whole nother
Oh yeah.
conversation. And maybe we need to talk about that another time. We can bring it up, but
Yeah.
I don't want to get too bogged into it. That's something I'm really passionate about, which is being disciplined on your deployments.
Yeah.
I have found people that can't get off the phone with their significant other at a good
Right.
enough time in the morning, in the evening, that they're not worth anything the next day because they're sleepy from talking so
Yeah.
much.
Absolutely.
That
Absolutely.
alone,
or
adjust.
or or you bring them in town, and don't get me wrong, we all get lonely on the road and blah blah blah, and they come in, but they have to understand we're working, and we're working a lot, and so that time that you think you're going to get, sometimes you may not be getting that. It's hard for us in that area. That's a whole nother conversation as well.
We
because because the dating scene and adjusting, unless it's another adjuster, may not quite understand what's happening in that area.
no, it's that's another conversation. I'm gonna leave that one. 'Cause you know who I got to interview? I got to interview Anthony and Melanie.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Yes.
I talked to them. So they'll be y'all gonna see Anthony and Melanie. They're a couple. They've been adjusting together for years. They did Canada with us as well. I got to live with Anthony and Melanie, as a matter of fact. So
Yes.
they can talk a little bit more about that. But Lejeune, let's talk about this one. I think that we've talked about how hard we work, but how do you go about dealing with the stress? How do you relax yourself day in and day out as you're deployed?
Well, it's taken a lot of time to get that balance, and everybody kind of has to find their balance. I'm a homebody, so going to work and coming home and resting and relaxation. I'm a spa person all day long.
Mhm.
Sorry, I when I have just had enough, then yeah, I'm a spa girl all day long, and I need to relax my mind. But the stress along this way can wake you up at 3 o'clock in the morning going, "Dadgummit, I should have wrote this on that account." It's the first thing you're starting to think about. But when you have to learn where your boundaries are, and it is not an easy thing. Some of us work through it. We'll be working, you get a little headache, and you say, it's just a headache. I'll take a couple of aspirin. I'll keep on going, 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 going. I have been in centers where people have passed out. I have been in centers where they called ambulances. My worst for that was being in Indiana. Indiana had a lot of that going on. People passing out, people getting sick, can't eat. So you have to learn your boundaries. And if I got up that day and I wasn't feeling well, I take my chance. I'm not going. I'm not coming in today. I can't. I can't even think. I can't even remember my passwords today.
Mhm.
That
Mhm.
kind of thing. And if
Yeah.
you get that far stressed out, it becomes an issue because you don't know what you might be saying to your customer, and it's important to know what you're doing.
I think I had a couple things with that, and I would say if y'all ever feeling like that, for adjusters who are currently adjusting or for new adjusters, self-release.
Yeah.
Your health is more important than everything. I
Yes.
have been in situations where I woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning thinking about a
Yeah.
claim. 3 a.m. Oh crap! And I was
I should have
anxious,
wrote this. I should have wrote that. Yeah.
right? And then another thing I would say too is that I had to learn that hey, I got to be in the bed at 9:30. I don't
Yeah.
care how young I am. I have to be in the bed at 9:30 if I plan on performing at
Yeah.
7 a.m.
Yeah.
I also had to learn how to eat.
Yes.
They don't
Yes.
agree. This ain't a regular job. Okay.
Yes. We're there 12 hours. So, eating out every day is a different ball game. You have to learn how to eat again. You have to learn what to take with you. But
Mhm.
sometimes you do have to remove yourself from the desk. And we did that. There were times that we did that. We were lucky. again in Canada, where I believe that our boss was a little lenient. They in Canada they believe in um, taking off a little bit of time and making
Mhm.
sure you're okay to get yourself back together. Now here in the U.S., we will run you. We will run you.
Oh
You
yeah,
know, so you have to say to us, "Hey, I can't make it today." You know, and you have to
yeah,
learn where that path is for you.
yeah. I agree. I think for me, just to give y'all an example, for me, I had gained a bunch of weight on a
Yes.
deployment. I gained like 20 pounds, and then I noticed that I couldn't stay awake at work. I'd be about to fall asleep, and I'm like, what's going on here? And I realized I was eating out all 3 meals a day. I wasn't getting any exercise. And then I was trying to have a regular life outside of that. I'm still going out with my
Right.
friends and stuff. And so I had to cut all interactions. Like I had to learn how to be quiet after work because in our
Yes.
job, y'all, we talk all day.
Yes.
And so I didn't realize how much talking took out of me until I stopped talking after work. And then I was
Yes.
able to rest and to calm down. Also, these cell phones, y'all, these cell
Oof.
phones and these computer screens, it has a lot of blue light, and so it overstimulates us throughout the day. I had to learn to put my phone down so I can go to sleep because you
Yes.
be looking at screens all day long, 20 hours a day sometimes. And
Yeah.
so it's a like Lejeune said, it's a balancing act. You're not going to learn it in the first 2 months to 3 months of this business. This is years of learning
Right.
how to manage yourself. Um, so, Lejeune, we got one more question.
Okay.
Okay. Because we talked, you answer a lot of stuff without me having to ask. Uh, for those who might be considering a career in insurance adjusting, what skills and qualities do you think are essential for a long career in this field?
You know, it took me a while to figure those pieces out myself, and I won't be able to tell you each and everything. But what you are going to require to start with is patience and the ability, again, like I said, to adjust. Because it's hard, especially when you're younger. You know, again, I'm a little older, but
Mhm.
when you're younger, it's hard not to fight the system when you can say, oh, I can show you an easier way to do that. You know, they may not want an easier way. You have to learn, you know, who to talk to, when to talk to them, and how. And it's not easy. This is not a field where your feelings you wear on your sleeve. Not at all. Because really, we generally are fired every 6 weeks. That's generally the way it works. You cannot take it personal. Your job is to get up and move to the next one. You don't have time to dote on the one that you just lost. Move on, keep going. It works in this field. Some
Mhm.
of us get to stay longer. It's a cutthroat business at times, especially when they do what I call cattle calls, which is they call
Mhm.
400 people at one time to this site. Now we got to weed everybody out, and you're trying to stay under the radar so that you are not weeded out. Because the name of this game is to stay in it, stay in this job as long as you can to make as much money as you can. The other
Mhm.
thing is don't blow your money. Do not blow your money, and it is a for for people it is a hard thing to do because you know you go out on a job and you get your first paycheck, and depending where you are it could be 25 to 5,000 for a week, and you're sitting there looking going, oh man, it's
Here we go.
Cadillac time, I'm gonna get me a
Hey.
Mercedes,
Mhm.
but that job can last a week. You don't know. And there's never much of a warning coming when this job ends. It just ends. And so
Mhm.
you have to be prepared for that. And you have to remember that there are lean times and that you have to, you know, be able to manage yourself through those lean times.
Mhm.
That's the hardest lesson that most of us live. When we go to Canada and work, when we did go to Canada and work,
Mhm.
it cost us at least 3,000 to 5,000 to get there because
Mhm.
it was a month before you got paid and you had to survive while you were there. And so you have to learn how to manage your money and how to put some aside, because you don't know where your next job is going to be. And when they tell you you got 3 days to get there, that's what you have. And that means lock up your house, everything that you got, clear your refrigerator or whatever, put your car away. If you're going to fly, or time to drive, however you're going to do it. So the best advice that I can give you in regards to that is to manage yourself and your money well.
I completely agree. I appreciate that, Lejeune. That's a great answer. Y'all, we're going to wrap it up. The style of these interviews, y'all, I'm not trying to keep y'all in here no hour. I'm going to give you everything you need, nothing you don't need for now. I'm going to catch up with Lejeune some more, but y'all, I hope y'all stay tuned for the next interview. If y'all got any questions, y'all can always shoot me a message. If you got questions to ask Lejeune, ask me and I'll ask her for you. Okay? So I appreciate everybody. Lejeune, thank you so much. And we'll talk to y'all soon.
Thank you.
All right.